Hello everyone, my name is AJ, and I don't have a good intro. Today I'll be redesigning Carmilla's daughters for my Hazbin AU, the bed and breakfast for former baddies. Let's get into it. In the original show, Carmilla has two daughters that she's very protective of, and killed an angel in order to protect them. In my most recent video about Carmilla, I had this idea where one daughter went to heaven and the other one was in hell. In that video, I had the idea to add a third daughter, and the third daughter would be the one that's in heaven, but after thinking about it for a while, I think it would be better to keep only two daughters. If I can reduce the amount of characters, I want to do that so I can flesh out the characters we do have. Carmilla's daughters really don't do anything in the original show. Odette has a singular voice line, and frankly, I didn't even realize that it was her when she did say something. She and her sister Clara delivered something to Penchus, which is when the voice line happened. They're so in the background that I barely even noticed that they're there, and that would be totally fine if they weren't so important to Carmilla's character. Carmilla's main motivation is her love for her daughters, but you can't just put a character on screen and expect people to care. Yeah, people understand, oh, these are your kids, so obviously Carmilla wouldn't want them to die, but why should I care? I don't care about these characters, so it's hard for me to care about Carmilla by extension, since her entire character is about her daughters, which is nothing. The first daughter we're going to tackle is Odette. I like Odette's design. It's simple, effective, and you can get like a pretty clear read on what her personality is and her interests just from looking at her. Solid. However, it's not what I'm going for, so we're just gonna mostly ignore it. She's just gonna be in the corner over here. Now, I don't know this for certain, but I'm pretty certain that both of Carmilla's daughters are adopted because while they do have similarities to both each other and to her, they don't look that much like her. In my version, they are both biological children, so I will be darkening the skin tone to something more similar to Carmilla's, at least for Odette. I'm gonna have to lighten Clara's skin a tad, which I feel a little bit weird about, but we'll get there when we get there. Odette was buried alive, so my original idea was to make her like a sort of rock monster, but combined with like some ice, because I was thinking of ice skates, but I didn't do that. My original sketches made me hate myself, so I won't be showing them to anyone. Those die with me. Instead, what you're seeing now is actually the third attempt where I came up with a different idea. Carmilla is an extremely protective mother already, so I had this idea: what if Odette was disabled? Carmilla had children later on in life. The older you are when you have children, the higher the likelihood of birth defects is. Odette was born with spina bifida. Before the 1960s, the likelihood of surviving spina bifida was between 10 and 12%. That's not very high, as I'm sure you've gathered. Surgery was usually put off until the baby was at least 2 years old because only the strongest babies would survive the surgery anyway. Antibiotics hadn't been invented yet either when Odette was still alive, so yeah, Odette started life on hard mode. She survived, but barely. She was paralyzed from the waist down, developed incontinence and chronic pain, and lost her ability to speak. She was lucky though. Most children that did survive would usually develop severe mental impairments. Odette did have mental challenges, specifically with her speech, but she could read. She couldn't write, but she could read. She had nothing else to do except read, and she was brilliant. Her dream was to develop some sort of cure or treatment for herself. She started her experiments pretty darn young. She started experimenting on her pets, but Carmilla stopped getting her new ones because she assumed that her daughter just couldn't take care of them. When she ran out of animals, she started running her experiments on the house staff and the factory workers when she could get to them. She never did find a cure though. Carmilla buried her alive a week after her 16th birthday. Now that she's in hell, Lilith has given her the form of a teddy bear. Unlike the forms of adult sinners, the bodies of sinner children are not intended to be torment. They are not meant to be a reminder of what the sinner had done forever. The forms of sinner children are meant either to protect them or to be a wake-up call to the adults that failed them, preferably both at the same time. Odette's form is supposed to proclaim to the entire world that she was treated like a helpless child her entire life. That is why she's a child's toy. It's to try and get people to realize, oh, I need to treat this person like an adult because I've been infantilizing them forever. Carmilla hasn't figured out yet that her being overprotective and underestimating Odette's ability to think for herself is the problem here. She was under the assumption that Odette just didn't know better when she would kill her animals. Nah. Odette knew better, she just didn't care. If Carmilla had intervened, perhaps not as many animals would have died and Odette would have stopped. She is still incapable of speech, but she can walk now. She can't walk perfectly though. She has muscles but no bones. She also can't feel pain, so she's actually much more able-bodied now than ever before, despite how floppy she is. She can't keep her neck up for anything. She doesn't do experiments that hurt other people or animals anymore though now. There's no need. The pain is gone and she's no longer paralyzed, so she started experimenting with robotics. She's trying to invent an exoskeleton for herself so she can move around more properly. Odette was also the one who created the second prototype for the machine that could capture angels, this version able to permanently destroy them. For her actual design, I decided to make her a little darker all over to resemble fur, with her actual skin tone only popping up around her muzzle, tummy, and a few streaks in her hair. I did want to keep the hair pretty much the same. I did remove the parts that are around the sides of the head because they confuse me and don't work on a bear's head. I kept the big glasses. I like them. I also kept the lab coat and gloves, but I did want them to look more like toy clothes and not real clothes. I also emphasized the stitching around the seams of her body. I actually used suture stitching patterns for them. Time for daughter number 2, Clara. I said in my second video about Carmilla that she had 3 daughters, but I did ultimately decide to combine daughters 2 and 3 into one so I don't have nearly as many characters to worry about writing and making compelling. Clara died when she was only 3 years old on the same night that Carmilla killed Odette. I don't really need to worry about writing anything for her earthly life since she was so young when it happened. I mean, what can you really say about a 3-year-old? She was 3. I did decide that she was born with a cleft lip though, which leads us into our angel design. Rabbits have cleft lips too, so the idea of a cleft lip birth defect maybe want to turn her into a rabbit. Clara's original design really gives us nothing at all. The only thing I could possibly guess from her design is that she might be a bit of a sporty girl, but like, that's kind of it. And you know what? That's fine. She's a background character. Her design doesn't need to be revolutionary. It serves its purpose, to be unimportant. The only thing that I really did keep was the crop top and her bun. Everything else went away. I gave her a high-waisted skirt that's intended to be a modern casual version of the flamenco dress to give us some hints as to where she originally came from. I decided to keep the fur color thing from Odette going. I felt really weird about lightening her skin too much from the original. People from Spain, from my research, aren't usually super dark, and the ethnicity, I mean, I'm certain they have diversity there, but you know, still. I also didn't want to get eaten by virtue signalers. But besides everything else, the pink that I chose for her virtue of patience just looked better on top of a mostly brown character. I think she's cute. I also did decide to draw her a quick exorcist form as well. I gave her the usual black mask and then also put a nun's hood on top of it, arms gone, wings only. She's also got the usual black top and the skirt with the belt in the middle. I also drew her with a bird's tail and made her legs a bit more bird-like as well. For anyone who might not know yet, angels leave their bodies when they go to do exorcist stuff, and when they do that, they take the appearance of harpies as a reference to the one time that the Holy Ghost took the form of a dove. I also gave her a simple steel band for her halo. Girly is not special at all, and she's alright with that. Now, I don't really have any like super backstory stuff for her because it really doesn't matter. Her life in heaven, it was standard, you know, she found a family, she got adopted, all that good stuff, but it doesn't really matter, so there's no reason to waste time writing it. Yeah. Now, I would love to tell you all about the lore changes and like final tweaks I've made to Carmilla's story, but I would like to keep a few things secret for when I actually write stuff out on paper. But I will give you this brand new idea that I've had that I think you're all going to love. I wanted to make Odette a more important character, so I've decided this. The way that Alistair finds out how angels are killed has changed. What happens is that after the Overlord meeting, he talks with Carmilla. He manipulates her into telling him how to capture and kill angels, and in return he'll keep her daughter safe within the walls of Princess Charlotte's home, where angels are not allowed to venture. Carmilla agrees, only after Alistair says just the right thing, and now, boom! Now Odette is staying at the bed and breakfast. This means that we can learn about her slowly. I'm planning on having her interact with the Egg Boys and get some therapy, maybe even redeem herself. We'll see what happens. Now, before you go, look at this fan art. Also, I have an announcement to make. I am now streaming on Twitch. I don't have a set schedule, but I do announce in the Discord whenever I'm live. We play games, I draw stuff, it's a good time. I'm trying to get 50 followers before the end of the month so I can get monetized on there, and I only need 20 more. I also have a VODs channel where you can watch the streams whenever you want to at your own leisure. If you want to support me, check out the Patreon. I also take commissions, and I can make you a custom keychain of whatever you want for the right price. Want to save your money? That's great. I have a merch drop in the works that I think you will all be very excited about. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and as always, a special thank you goes out to my financial supporters, JRDS, The Immortal Jesse, Mercer Scott Holt, Stephen Drake, Anna J, Jay Draws, and Silent Savvy. You're all the greatest. I'll see you all next week in a super cool video about a super cool robot and a dinosaur skeleton. Bye-bye!
Hey, Editing AJ here, and a quick note before we leave. A huge shout out to my sister, The Hermit, here on YouTube, who made me a really cool animation for my birthday. It's very long, so I can't really include it here. Her channel will be linked in the description, and I think you should really check it out.